Let's bring in KTV political analyst Brian Sobel. Brian, thanks so much for joining us today. This was a hard-fought legislative battle. How big of a win is this for President Biden?
It's a win, Heather. And when you're talking about $1.2 trillion, to Mayor Liccardo's point about how long it's going to take for money to actually reach the ground, as it were, speaks to the complexity of a bill of this scope. But it was a bipartisan bill. There were a number of Republicans that came over to support it. And now we'll see how it rolls out, because that's really the interesting point of this is, where will we see improvements? How soon will we see them? But in many cases, Heather, it's going to be years. But at the end of the day, California did very, very well here. California ends up with nearly $46 billion in this package.
Yeah, I want to talk about the politics of all of this, Brian, because this ceremony today was carefully choreographed. As you mentioned, it did receive bipartisan support, so there were some Republicans in attendance as well. And the president saying, I know you're tired of the bickering in Washington, he said, frustrated by the negativity, and you just want us to focus on your needs and your concerns. But Brian, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, absent, said he had other things that he had to do. And some congressional Republicans who voted for this bill are being blasted by members of their own party. What do you make of all of that?
Clearly, a lot of the mainstay Republicans, the McConnells and others, were not happy about the, use a word, defection of some Republicans to sign on to this bill. But in their heart of hearts, they said, hey, this is an infrastructure bill. This isn't one where we're putting more money out to people, paying for things that you can't get your arms around sometimes very well. This is infrastructure, ports, roads, bridges, all those sorts of things that people can look at and see. And I think that that's the difference between this bill and the bill that is going to run into a whole lot more resistance. And that's the second part of the two-pronged bills that the president and the Democrats have put forward. It's a win for the president, but we know that in a lot of polling that's been done, people are really not very happy with the direction of Congress or the White House at this point.
Right, but this does give Democrats, Brian, something now to run on, and all bets are that they are going to be touting this legislation come the midterm elections.
Well, let's face it, Heather, if you wanted to just get one demonstration of that, there were 800 people invited to the signing ceremony at the White House today. This was a big deal. It was the first bill of any scope that anybody could point to for this presidency. And so, yes, absolutely, Joe Biden can and should run on this as a demonstration that he can bring Republicans and Democrats together. How it goes from here will be the open question.
Yeah, and then before I let you go, Brian, though, something that you touched on earlier, which is that voters, they appreciate the passage of this bill, but really they want to see all of the money, see those projects implemented as well.
That, and also, it's not lost on people that trillions of dollars are trillions of dollars. People could say that, the rich will pay more money or whatever, but the devil's always in the details. And I think people fear middle-class tax increases and that sort of thing. So the Democrats have to do a very good job, and the president, of demonstrating that the money for this bill and a subsequent bill is actually not going to come from middle-class taxpayers.
All right, Brian Sobel, appreciate your insight this afternoon. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.